So you're planning your podcast right now, and there's one thing that I know you're about to miss out, and that is the actual plan. So I've got a framework for you. It's called the PATH framework. That's PATH, and that is going to help you create a podcast that stands out, that's unique, that speaks to a real audience, and has the best chance of actually growing listeners, that audience you've always dreamed about. I've got a wee download for you in the description below as well. Go and have a look at the link and you'll get a little PDF that will guide you through this so you can tick list your way through it. But let's jump into it. Let's go to the framework. How do we implement PATH to make sure our podcast is going to grow? The P in PATH is for purpose. This is really your why. The why is really key, actually. This is why you're doing the show. Now, what's the point? For a start, it helps you stay motivated when things get hard. Another, it helps you figure out who your audience is, what you want to offer them, what effect you want to have on your audience. And that in turn helps you really figure out the format of your show, what's going to go in there, and helps you plan the content every single episode. So this makes a huge difference. Figure out your proper purpose, your proper why, and it makes everything else easier. So let's look at some examples. Some of your whys might be, maybe it's for marketing. It's pure marketing. It's just for personal or business branding. You know, it grows authority and it grows trust. It's more personal than blogging. It's more evergreen than social media. You offer great, valuable content to your customers and you nurture those super fans. That's a great why. That's a great reason to do a podcast, and it works really nicely. Maybe though, actually, it's just a creative outlet. You just want to make something cool. That is a great purpose, and it really directs how you put your show together. That's just making it around your passion, whether it's true crime, vegan baking, audio fiction. It's just to create something you're proud of. Another example is just pure education. You want to teach your expertise. Maybe you're a coach or a mentor that actually charges for these services, or maybe it's just something you're really passionate about. That could be something like, educate by example, help your audience elevate their own skills, or anything like that. You put yourself out there and teach what you know to an audience. And the final one is entertainment, just to help people have fun. That could be a comedy show, it could be a quiz. Some podcasts have no other aim than to make people laugh, to make them have fun, and to help them pass the time. Nothing wrong with that. It's a great purpose. So that's the P, your purpose. Choose your own purpose, note that down, make sure it's really strong in your mind, and that'll lead us to the rest. So the A is for audience. Your audience is who you're speaking to. And if you don't know who you're speaking to, there's absolutely no chance anyone will listen. So a lot of smart people talk about audience personas, about an ideal listener, an audience avatar. Whatever it is, it's really worthwhile actually putting time into creating this for real. So it can be imaginary or it can be real, a real person, but you want to actually write down a profile of this person. So sometimes the ideal listener is actually yourself. So it's a real person in that case. You write down your own attributes, your likes, your dislikes, what your culture is, your tastes are, your ethos, your values, all of those things, what your job is even. Things like that make a big difference. Or it could be imaginary. Maybe you make somebody up who is your ideal listener that you're trying to help out. Either way, you end up with this persona, this real person with an actual name in your mind that you're speaking to every time you record an episode. And that makes so much difference. Having this person in your head that you're speaking to helps you direct your content, helps you make sure that it's always interesting to them, helps you design that content up front to make sure you're answering the real questions, the real pains that they have. And that direction, that purpose is the difference between a podcast that really catches people's attention, that really drags them in and engages them, versus something that's just a little bit generic. So it makes such a difference. Next level up as well, it helps you direct your title, your description, your artwork. All of those should cater directly to this person that is your avatar, and even out to trailers, to adverts, to everything around your show to help it grow. All of it is directed by this audience member. So that's your A. Put some time into thinking through who is this audience member. And again, remember that download, I've got that template down below. Go to the description, download that booklet, and you'll be able to write down all of the different aspects of this person and make sure you know them from head to toe. Now to T for topic. Now this is the one you probably think you know already a little bit, but I do have a few tips around how to choose a great topic, how to narrow this down, because that's really the key of it, is narrowing down. Everyone wants to talk about, life, the universe, and everything. You have loads of interests. There's no doubt you are multitudes. You can talk about so many things. But for the purpose of your podcast, narrow it down. You'll have heard the word niche or niche. You want to choose your niche. And the tighter that niche is, the better in the early days, because the more strongly it speaks to that audience that we talked about. So narrow it down, think of a subset. So I used to run a podcast about mountain biking. That's already a subset of the cycling niche. So it's already a niche of a niche. But inside that, I could go to how to build bikes. Actually, a whole show about just how to build bikes. Or maybe it's a whole show just about skills. Or maybe it's a whole show about gear. It's just reviewing gear the whole time. Those are subsets of subsets of subsets. And that narrows it down and makes your show really purposeful. Now, the biggest fear is you're narrowing down your options too much. You're making your audience too small, or you want to speak about other things. Well, don't worry about it, because you can set your niche in the early days and you can expand out over time. It works really nicely for podcasts. Grow your core audience around a really small niche in the first 20, 30, 50 episodes, and then expand out to a wider niche related. Bring that audience with you, attract some new people, and keep going from there. And a final tip on this as well, seasons can actually work really nicely for this. You can do your first season around something like within mountain biking, maybe it's the best saddles. And I do 10 episodes just on saddles. And in season 2, actually I expand out to wheels, or maybe I expand out to clothing or something less boring than saddles. But you get the point. You start something small with a season around one of the most important questions that your audience has. And in the second season, you widen that out, tackle another question that your audience has as well. That's how you can go from season to season, expanding your topic every single time and really start to expand your audience from a really core niche in the early days. Okay, the last one. This is the H from Path, and it stands for Hallmark. What is the hallmark of your show? What makes it unique? This is so important because so many people create a show talking about something they love, but actually it's just like every other show about that topic. So try to think up a way that makes it unique. Now, there's lots of different ways to do this. So one can be, for example, a personal angle. Now, this is your unique take on a topic. So imagine a politics show for school kids, because you're a school kid. Or maybe it's something like mountain biking for retirees, because you're a retiree. Or maybe it's comedy for Buddhists. You're talking about a whole topic from a particular angle. Now, the opposite side is a niche. A niche is when you take just part of a topic and make it applicable to most people. So maybe it's the politics show for 50-year-olds, or it is mountain biking for women, or something like that. You're breaking it down into a niche. So those can be your angles, is niching down or taking a particular angle on a topic. Another way to be unique is your format. So maybe you make it a particularly short show. It's a short daily show, just 2 minutes a day. Or maybe it's a super long show that goes so in depth over 3 or 4 hours, only once every few weeks. Or maybe it's internal. Maybe it's something around the structure of the show, as in you have a news segment and then a quiz of the week and then an interview or something like that. You can put together a format around how the show's laid out that makes the show unique as well. One other way is quality, actually, production value. Putting way more work into taking an hour-long interview and cutting it down to half an hour. Picking out, the best bits, putting some sound effects in there, some voiceovers to really kind of explain and bring out the points. That kind of thing can make all the difference and make sure that the production value, the quality, is your uniqueness. So one that I like a lot, actually, that not many people use is the outcome. So many shows talk about, entertainment, education, motivation, but actually don't think about what happens next. So imagine an education show that talks about a general topic, but you give some really solid homework and tasks at the end of it. You actually give people something to go away and do. And then they go away, they have a bit of action, they have a bit of success, some endorphins, they come back and they're now super fans of your show because they've actually achieved something. Again, if you want a format to write this down in and some more inspiration around different ideas, ways to do it, check out the link in the description below for the handout for the download, and you can write down all of your uniquenesses in there. How are you going to make your show unique? And make sure next time somebody asks, what is your podcast about? Why should I listen? You have a really solid answer to convince them why it's for them. So that's your path. That's your framework for finding a great podcast strategy, creating your initial podcast plan. Hope that's given you some good pointers there. If you want some help with this, I'd love to help. We're here for you over at the Podcast Host Academy. Me and my team run a community where we help people with accountability. We've got feedback tools in there. We've got live support, loads of courses, frameworks, toolkits in there. It's all over at thepodcasthost.com/academy. That's thepodcasthost.com/academy. I'd love to help you there. So join the community, meet the people, and get loads of support. Thanks again for watching. I've been Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com. I'll see you next time.